Rav Yaakov Mordechai Greenwald, a Choshev Barovnos, also was a Goyen, related the following story, quoted by Rav Zilberstein in his famous Purim. Uh, Today we know that there are many secrets that are hidden in the Torah. You have computer ways of printing and looking at the letters, and we know that the Torah is nitzchias. So Hashem has many codes, as that's well known, hidden in the Torah. But many years ago, 50 years ago or more, there was a very famous Rabbi, Michael David Weissman, who's known as the Goyen of the Secrets of the Torah, said, and he was known as the pre-computer, the computer before there were computers, there were no computers, said the following interesting thing. One time he came over to him, Rav Greenwald, to Rav Weissman on Purim, and he said to him, have you ever counted the letters that are in the Megillah? He says, how many are there? He said, I don't know. He says, I know. There are 12,000 12,196 letters in the Megillah. So I asked him, so what do you do with that? He says, bring me a chumash. Let me show you something. Start counting from the first aleph in the Torah, which of course we know is in Bereshis, and count 12,196 letters. What letter will you come to? He said, there'll be a samach. He says, count again, another 12,196 letters, and you'll get a tough. Count another 12,196, you get a resh. That's the name of Esther. That is an amazing fact. So I said to him jokingly, and what about Mordechai? Esther there, where's Mordechai? He says, check with me next year. The following year he came to him, and he says, and he greeted him with, where's Mordechai? He says, I found the remez for Mordechai as well. Chazal say in Masechta Chulin, Daf Kufla Mites, Mordechai min HaTorah minayin. Where can we find Mordechai in the Torah? And the Pasuk says in Parshas Ki Sisa, V'yato kach lecha b'samim Rosh Mar Deror. It's Mur, M-Y-R-R-H, if I'm spelling it correctly in English. And the Targum of that says, Meira Dachya, which is Mordechai. This is where Mordechai is hinted to in the Torah. Now, start taking it from the letter Mem in Mordoror and count your 12,196 letters, and guess what you'll find? You'll find the Resh. And you keep going, you get a Dalid, and a Chaf, and a Yud. There you have Mordechai in the Torah as well. But Greenwald said, I used this story for a very, very valuable purpose. It wasn't just fun. A number of years later, we invited to our home a young woman who was a very, very clever and very astoundingly smart person. She had tremendous difficulties with Yiddishkeit. She wanted to become frum, but she was always querying the Rabbanim, and they couldn't handle her, so they sent her to us. She was too hard for them. They wanted her to be a guest at our home. So after the Seudah, she started asking me a number of questions, and she asked me her questions, and she cannot believe that the Torah is coming from Shemayim. It's something that's impossible to conceive. In order to answer her, I was racking my brains what to think of, and I remember Rav Weissmandel's Mubart. I told her the Indian of Purim, and I said to her the remez of Mordechai and Esther in the Torah. She heard what I had to say. She got up from the table and went to her room. Now, what's interesting, in the morning, we saw her, and her eyes were bloodshot. She was completely wiped out. She said she had been on her computer all night long working on this part. And she took many hours to realize that it was statistically impossible for this to happen by coincidence. It's impossible, she says. Bilti efshari. Statistically impossible to do this. And then she left. A number of years later, I was at a chasana, that's what Greenwald is relating, and here's a woman calling his name from across the room. And she called Rabbi Greenwald, Rabbi Greenwald. He says, excuse me, do I know you? She says, I am Esther and Mordechai. You see, now Baruch Hashem, my hair is covered. I'm married to a Talmud Chacham who learns in a koila. We're raising our children to go to yeshiva, and you'll be very, very pleased to see how we're doing. and have a happy Purim. That's one of the most fantastic stories about Purim I ever read. I made many copies of that story. I'm going to sleep, buddy. Good night.